And if it's later than it is here in Arizona, you can have something a little stronger than water. But we'll let you get settled and we'll start in just a moment. Hello, hello. I think we've still got folks coming, so we'll just talk for a few minutes amongst ourselves. If you feel comfortable, do let us know who you are and where you're joining us from. If you are joining as a parent who has lost a loved one, please let us know that. We'd love to honor them as part of this evening, and we'll just give another minute because I know one of our hosts is having a bit of a challenge in getting connected. Hopefully she will get in. Ah, there she is. Hi, Sheila. Did you mean to raise your hand?
Yes, hi everyone. Sorry, I'm at the park, so it's pretty noisy. But I just wanted to say hello from San Francisco, California. I'm a bereaved parent as of 2021. I experienced a miscarriage. I have a daughter now who's 2, but I'm also a baby loss family advisor, so bereavement doula, and I support families the moment they find out they're losing their baby. So I'm here to be of resource to anybody that resonates. And I'm just happy to be here. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, thank you, Sheila. Drop your contact information in the chat if you would. All right, I know we've got a full day planned, so I will get us started. And then, Jamie, I've made you a co-host, so you can help me admit folks as they come on. I'm so humbled to work with this team and to bring this, I think, very important program. My name is Marie Boone-Clark, and I am the founder of Birthing the Magic Collaborative. Thank all of you for being here for the pregnancy and infant loss workshop or conversation that we're going to have. This conversation will touch on grief and loss. So I encourage each of you to please take care of yourself in whatever way you need. Step away, mute us, turn us off, log back on, turn your camera on and off at any time. Um, we are going to start with a very meaningful introduction. I absolutely love these three women. I feel as if they are like my daughters or younger sisters or all those things that you feel about someone that you're humbled to know. Excuse me. I am the host, I guess, for the evening, but I am not the expert. And so I'm so glad that I'm joined by these three women. Ajua Ayusu Greenlee is with us. She's a postpartum doula. She's a new parent educator. She's a certified lactation consultant, and she is the founder of Lotus Ring Postpartum Care and Wellness. She walks alongside families in the transition after birth, offering them with practical guidance, breastfeeding support, and all the things that one needs to navigate this journey. Also joining us tonight as your host is Zay Bell or Zavira Bell. She is executive director of Zill of Xander. It's a nonprofit dedicated to bringing awareness to pregnancy and infant loss. She works with grieving parents through partnerships with local medical teams and practical support. She provides keepsake care for families. Zay has her own lived journey that I will allow her to share with you. And she finds the sweetness in the bitter by finding strength in helping you build confidence through the days that follow such a loss. And last but not least is Jamie Helberg, who is a change maker by choice. I think she said something to the effect of being an Angelino by by chance. She's a UX designer, and you'll have to tell us one day what that means, Jamie. I think it's something tech, but in my generation, I don't quite understand it. But she's also a full spectrum doula, and she's a program lead who turns community insight into simple tools and better support for families. Jamie builds gentle, practical spaces that help kin caregivers and BIPOC families find what they need without the maze. Last but not least, thank you to all of you. Thank you, Sheila, for doing an introduction of yourself. Others, please drop your introduction in the chat, and then we will get to a point of being able to make more personal connections. But first, Ajua, I think you're going to lead us into this space with a meaningful moment.
Yes, thank you, Marie. Thank you for that introduction. And I'm just excited to be here with you all. And you definitely are like a sister to me. So I just appreciate you organizing all of this and bringing us in this space. So once again, my name is Adjoa Yesu Greenlee, and I want to get us started with a grounding moment. So if you invite you all to just take a deep breath in and relax. I invite you to close your eyes if you would like to. If not, you can just kind of center yourself and be still. And we're just going to take some inhales and exhales. And as you take that deep inhale, drop your shoulders, relax your jaw, just kind of shake off any tension or apprehensions you might have before we come in this space. And today is Pregnancy, Infant Loss, and Awareness Day. And so if you have experienced loss, just know that this is a space for healing, a space for support, and just kind of look into your heart and know that this is a comforting space and a compassionate space. And just a couple more inhales and exhales with your eyes closed. And if you want to put your hand on your heart, I invite you to do so. And we're just carrying the legacies and of the babies that we have released that have transitioned on. One last inhale and exhale. Okay. So like Marie said, this is a heavy topic, but it's a very important space to tap into. So I'm going to start off with a poem, and this is called Little Butterfly by Amy Farquhar. I live my life inside you, cocooned in all your love. So, Mama, Papa, please don't cry. I'm still with you just up above. I felt your every heartbeat. It's my sweetest melody. And for every heavenly bedtime, the angels play it back to me. I know how much that I am wanted. I feel so very blessed. Of all of the parents in the world, I got the very best. You think of me in all your waking hours and on those sleepless nights. Just look out the window and you'll find me, the brightest star, the most dazzling light. I'm that little breeze in the summer, and I'm that unexpected white feather. I plucked it from my downy wings so that you remember we are always together. I know how much it hurt your soul when we had to say goodbye, but I'm not gone. I'm always here. I'm your sweet little butterfly. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ajwa. Um, I normally am much more polished than this, but this is a deep subject, I think, and I am um it's a lot. And so I'm going to ask you guys to bear with me as I try to go through what we had crafted to say. Um, and I'm a weeper by nature anyway, so um, speaking of weeping, Zay is going to talk to us about grief, most specifically Black grief, and how it impacts us. And Zay, I don't know, are you going to talk to us about it, or are we going to show the video? We didn't have a chance to finalize that one.
I think that we have enough time to do the 9-minute video and then just have a quick little chit chat afterward. If you want to go that way.
Okay. Do you want to set the stage while I flip over to that?
Mm-hmm. Are you going to play it, or do you want me to share my screen?
Oh, you can share it, sweetie. That would be even better.
Okay. So greetings. My name is Xaviera Zay Bell. Zay is my preferred name. I am the executive director of Zil of Xander. I created the nonprofit organization 90 days to the date that I watched my son Xander die at UNC Chapel Hill in April of 2018. What I knew was, when I bargained with God, I told him that if you want me to stay alive, you will help me through this process and you will find a purpose in this pain, because I'm not going to hurt this bad for no reason. And so from that day to this one, I have really been on a mission to erase the embarrassment associated with losing children, and whether that be at a gestation of 4 weeks or 8 weeks, or 21 weeks or 32 weeks or 41 weeks. It is a abnormality that statistically has become normal, right? When we look at how often women are losing children, Black women are 2 to 3 times more likely to lose a child. If you are in New York, about 20 times more likely. And women across the board, 1 in 4 women will lose a child. So I am going to share my screen as well as the sound. If you guys cannot hear it, please let me know. And so we're going to watch a quick video in regards to Black grief. Hi, my name is Zay Bell, and I am the executive director of Zil of Xander, a nonprofit organization that I created in July of 2018, 90 days to the day that I lost my son, Xander. I wanted to talk a little bit about the morning after and addressing Black grief and reclaiming our joy, because I don't think that we take into consideration that Black grief looks a bit different than any other grief. Just to kind of start out, I just want to give you a few points to think about. Research indicates that Blacks are significantly more likely than whites to have experienced the death of a mother, a father, and a sibling from childhood through midlife. From adulthood, young adulthood, through later life, Blacks are also more likely than whites to have experienced the death of a child and of a spouse. What this means is, from young adulthood through later life, we are losing our spouses and our children, right? We are losing the family that we made, right? From our childhood through midlife, we are losing the family that made us. I always talk about how Black people make the abnormality of death so normal. I remember growing up, I'm a Southerner, born and raised in Alabama, lower Alabama. And I remember when someone died in our community, my family would be like, oh, death comes in threes. We're just waiting for someone else to die, or who is going to be next. And honestly and truthfully, I cannot recall a time that was not true. Cannot recall a time that was not true. So that solidifies the fact that Black people do die more often. Why? Because we have made it so normal. And so I want to kind of go over a few things just about grief versus bereavement, the 5 stages of Black grief, understanding the grief that Black women carry, and also maternal mental health as well. So disproportionate death in the Black community, whether from COVID-19, infant mortality, or police violence, is one of the most alarming consequences of institutional racism. African Americans not only disproportionately face death, they also must deal with an insurmountable amount of grief and mourning. So the 5 stages of grief, historically, has let us know that we will go through these stages of denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. However, when we look at Black individuals, our grief looks a little bit different. And so when we think about our stages of grief, we go through this despair, we go through self-blame, we move to action, then we endure it, and then we survive it. And at any given time, you can get spurts of anger. And we know that anger is a secondary emotion. And we also know that Black people do not do well with not being able to identify what they are going through and what they are feeling. There has been many times where the cycle of grief has overtaken me, and I did not know how to communicate what I was feeling because I did not know where I was located. I did not know that there was a difference between bereavement, between mourning, and between grief. I did not know that grief was the emotional effects of losing a person. I did not know that grief can start before the death of an individual. And I definitely did not know that bereavement was the time period after you have lost somebody. And I was shocked to find that mourning was just how we displayed publicly. Because as a Black woman, we are always advised that we have to be strong. We have to be strong Black women. And that has put a halt on how we experience grief, how we mourn, and it has prematurely ended the bereavement period for us. When we talk about understanding Black grief, and we specifically talk about the dismantlement of the mother-child relationship, we know that Black grief is compounded by historic trauma and ongoing loss and inequities. And research has shown us that centuries of loss and discrimination, beginning when Africans were forcefully taken to the Americas and enslaved, how that can make it even more difficult for African Americans to cope with today's losses and trauma. When we speak about compounded grief, and I always explain this as, can you imagine, I am going to tell my age here, right? Can you imagine holding one of the old phone books, the phone books that had the yellow pages and the white pages, and people just continuously come to stack those phone books up? Or when encyclopedias were actually printed and they were humongous and they were heavy. That is what compounded grief is, and it occurs when individuals experience multiple losses simultaneously. And this form of grief can be exacerbating, and it could just be tiring. And it's definitely exacerbated by intergenerational and transgenerational trauma. And it creates a unique and complex emotional landscape for those experiencing pregnancy and child loss as well. The loss of a child is an emotionally devastating experience. And those of us that are carrying intergenerational trauma may perceive grief through a different lens. The stress and pain inherited from our ancestral roots can create a more profound sense of grief, adding layers of sorrow that complicate the mourning process. Parents may find themselves grappling not only with their individual losses, but also with cultural and familial or historical traumas unexpectedly resurfacing during their own grief process. I remember that I had to understand the grief that Black women carried, even if I was not familiar with it. And structurally, when we look at structural racism, it makes it difficult for Black families to trust the healthcare system and access supports. What we know is that a lot of times we do not feel safe when we are expressing that there is something that is going on. And Black women especially, are often alone in their grief because they are socialized to be strong and to be stoic. Once we have suffered a loss, we are the stereotypical strong Black women, and we really just try to manage things by ourselves. But what we do not take into account is the residue and the longevity that maternal mental health has when it comes knocking at our door. The estimated economic cost of untreated maternal mental health disorders over 5 years is about $14.2 billion. And Black women have increased risk factors for maternal mental health disorders due to high levels of trauma exposure throughout their lifetime. Research indicates that trauma exposure rates, defined as exposure to at least one traumatic event during the perinatal period, is about 87% for Black women. Higher rates of trauma exposure combined with 3 to 4 times more likely to experience dangerous complications during birth, significantly increase the risk of maternal mental health disorders, including birth trauma and post-traumatic stress disorders for Black women. Grief looks different in our community. We carry grief differently. We pride ourselves on being strong and being able to manage everybody else's crisis, and we kind of stuff ours down. And so what I want people to take into consideration is that all grief is not created the same, because Black women are not familiar with how to walk in grief and how to manage, still being strong and still recognizing that it is okay not to be okay. Hi, my name is Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Perfect. All right. So I want to kind of bring this back in. Marie, what's my time? Do I have 5 minutes?
Yes.
Can't see. Okay. I want to say a couple things. One, what I want to say is, although Black grief is manifest differently than any other grief, that does not mean that any other culture does not grieve. So I want to preface that. I do not think that I have survived or lived through anything as hard as burying my son. Hands down, I know it for a fact. What I knew in my life is that when I was 36 years old, I was questioning and asking myself, what am I going to do without my son? And at 37, when I had to bury him, the big question was, what am I going to do without him? There is a very ugly part of grief that we are not familiar with when we have to bury our children because it is out of order. No one teaches you how to parent a legacy. No one teaches you how to tend to yourself when all you want to do is not live either. But this is the encouragement that I want to give to every woman and every man, every birthing person that has lost a child, whether it be 1 day, 1 week, 1 year, 11 years, 20 years, 40 years, or 60 years. You have survived 100% of the bad days that you thought that you would not. And that has to speak for something. No one gives us a guide on how to tend to ourselves, how to love ourselves, how to encourage ourselves, and how to pull ourselves out of the dark days that we did not know that we would be in. I remember one of my major triggers was not seeing babies, was not seeing pregnant women. One of my triggers was waking up in the middle of the night 1 year after I buried my son and my breast still lactating. It was a constant reminder that my body knew that there was a baby that needed to be fed and the presence of him did not exist. It's 3 pieces of advice I want to give you. One is, it is true that the body keeps the score. Everything that we have gone through, the body will keep the score on that. And it is also true that the heart collects the scars. The times that our heart has been broken over and over and over and over, because people do not explain to us the complexity of what grief looks like. Not only do you grieve the child that you lost, but you grieve the memories that you did not make. You grieve the trauma associated with the birth that you wish that would have been beautiful. You grieve the fact that when your child was born, there was silence in the room and it spoke louder than anything that you could ever remember. You grieve the fact that you wish that you could have seen his or her eyes. You grieve the fact that you wish that you had the first day of school pictures and the cookies and the secret recipes. You grieve all of those things associated with it. You grieve every single birthday. You grieve every baby shower that you are invited to, wishing that it could have been yours. And whether that is a loss this year or 20 or 40 years ago, you still grieve that equally. So we know that the body keeps the scores, that the heart collects the scars, and that the muscles maintain the memory. Your muscles have memory. I remember every April the 25th, my body at 10:52 a.m., my body is thrown into a grief process, because that is the time that I birthed my son. And that is the time that I said hello and goodbye to him as well. And so even though I try to have a great day, I don't have a great day. 7 years out, I want you to know that it is okay, that grief is personal. You do not have to explain it to anybody. You do not have to make people feel comfortable when you are uncomfortable. You do not have to accommodate the needs and the desires of anybody associated with you. You don't have to go to the baby shower, and you do not have to go to the birthday party. You have to tend to yourself, and that is the best remedy that you could ever have for you. Know that you do not have to do this alone. Know that it was not true when they said that God needed another angel and you felt convicted about it. Know that it was okay to be pissed off too when you see everybody else around you celebrating birthdays and having babies that they didn't want to have, and you had to bury the ones that you did. Know that that is okay too. Know that this is your process. Know that you go through it. Know that you don't have to explain yourself to anybody, and know that it is okay to be okay. But know that you need to have a village around you, and there are other women that have gone through this process, and we're waiting here to support you and to love you and to undergird you with the support that you desperately needed, because your friends could not give it to you. Your mother could not give it to you. Your sister did not show up to you, for you. And there's a sorority of people that is waiting to embrace you, is waiting to care for you, um, and waiting to let you know that we love you, that we will hold you up when your knees are weak, we will help you move when you move scared, and that every year is difficult. Every year is hard. You don't have to feel guilty for the years that you don't cry, and you don't have to feel guilty for the years that you do.
Thank you, Zay. Um, that was powerful, as usual. I've become Zay's groupie. You have named, every time I hear you, you give a new meaning to learning and the understanding of how to support someone who's going through this. And thank you for reminding us that it isn't something to fix, but that it's something, a love that we carry. Um, take a minute, um, unclench your jaw. I'm over here breaking my teeth off, I think. Let your shoulders drop, take a deeper breath. We are going to move into, because we said we wanted to create a more intimate space for you to meet each other. We have breakout sessions or breakout rooms. Session sounds like it's assignment. It is not. We have breakout rooms. One's going to be led by Zay, the other is going to be led by Ajua, and the third not led, but they'll be in the room to help facilitate the conversation. And then the third will be with Jamie. So if you give me a moment, I am going to assign you all or send you all off. And you should be asked to join your rooms now, right? Do you guys see an invitation to join a room or no? Uh, for those of you who are still here, it looks like you did. Did you get an invitation to join a room? Oh wait, one of the breakout rooms? Oh, okay. Bear with me just a moment. I see what we're doing. Still do not have. I see you guys here, but I don't see that that I have an opportunity to assign you to a room. That is strange. We will, since it's the five of us, we'll just do our own room, I guess, because I don't see you as someone to assign, which is so strange. Do we want to do introductions? Anyone feel comfortable making an introduction? Can you guys hear me?
Hi, yes. Good evening. Can you hear me?
I can now, yes.
Hi, my name is Brandy, and I am happy to be here, and I'm learning so much. I really appreciate the passion, and especially the new the new things that I'm learning about grief and bereavement and mourning. It's very powerful. So I'm grateful. Thank you so much for having this.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, yes, and I am getting sent out to Zay. I was there. I had to fix my settings for microphone. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. So that's strange. Maybe if you guys talk, I get an opportunity to move you. That is so strange. Because I see you, Dr. Henderson, here, but I don't see where I have a chance to. So Dr. Henderson, I see where I can put you in a room, but you're not accepting it. Can you hear me? Or Tracy? Are we all back? I don't think we're all back yet. Are we? Doesn't look like it.
40 seconds left. I think everyone will be back here. 30 seconds.
No rush. How do you see that? I'm still learning these breakout things. Oh, I see it now. Okay. Thank you all for coming back and for taking the time to be with us tonight. I'm sure we had some rich conversations. Ajua, Zay, Jamie, anything you in your, I hate saying breakout rooms, that sounds so weird, in your sessions, in your conversations that resonated that would help the rest of us as we go through this conversation?
I can start. Yeah, break sounds so like businessy. Compassion circles. Let's call them compassion circles.
Yes, I love that. I love that. Compassion circle. Yes.
Yeah. So really quickly, in our group, our compassion circle, we talked about father, siblings, and grandparents and what the grief process looks like for them. And we actually looked at the scenario of a family who had a stillborn event at 38 weeks. Baby girl Ava was stillbirth at 38 weeks. And so we looked at the different dynamics of the family members and how they were processing. And so we had some really great responses and different ways to navigate forward. And if anybody from our compassion circle wants to chime in and some takeaways from our time together, y'all are more than welcome to do so. But we had a good discussion.
I can
Are we
share
good?
from, oh, do you want to go ahead?
Oh no, I was saying, are we good on sound? I just want to make sure everybody could hear me.
Mhm.
Okay, good.
Awesome. I can share from our compassion circle. I feel like a huge theme was just like how non-linear grief is, whether it's as years pass and every day being different than the other, or if it's repressing grief out of survival and years later realizing the ways that we've repressed it and having to then reprocess all over. And so I'm just feeling a lot of gratitude. Just thank you to everyone that was there, from the full spectrum doulas to the OBs to the folks just doing such incredible work. I wish I could thank you personally, Tracy, for the work that Save a Mom, Save a Family Foundation is doing. And so just, yeah, just feeling gratitude for the work you all do to keep these memories alive and to make the world a better place as a result of keeping those memories alive.
So our compassion circle just talked about the advocacy behind grief. I think for me, foundationally, the common denominator in our group was, what is there to do? How can we do this work? How can we do this work safely without damaging people? And how can we do it well? What can I do? How can I extend services as a grief counselor, as a bereavement counselor, as a bereavement doula, as a death doula? How can we navigate through this space? And where do we find women that need and want support? And so the things that, I really wanted, that I really advised them was, there are several places that we can find women. One of them is by way of church. What we know is that some women and some men are grieving the loss of their children, and they are dying in the pews because they have a compromise in the religious foundation of, how do I trust God when I've lost a child? right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is always think local. One of the places that you will find women that have experienced loss is by collaborating and being a partner with your local hospitals and birth centers. The other place is always going to be abortion clinics, because people had to make tough decisions when they walked in and they need support walking out. And local grocery stores, circles that are already created, so that you can extend those services and wrap individuals in services and care throughout the postpartum period, years down the line of their bereavement period, and also making sure that we capture those women that people have forgot about, and those women look like women that lost children 10, 15, 20 years ago that are still broken and they have been forgotten.
That's an impactful learning, Zay, because one of the young women in our group said that she had a loss and went to her faith leader, um, and was encouraged to remain positive, not necessarily given the tools to navigate her grief. And this is not an indictment of any faith, but as the minister's daughter, I do know that sometimes we can lean a little too heavily into you got to stay positive, and this was God's choice, before we recognize the pain that the person's going through. And one of my father's really good friends was actually a Buddhist master. And when he lost his daughter, he did a parable, and he talked about a Buddhist priest who was walking in the field with his students, and they came and told him that his leader had passed away. And in the faith, things are your emotions are you move to that point of ultimate joy, right? And so the priest said, "Is that so?" But in the meantime, the tears are running down his face. And his students said, "But Master, you're crying, you're showing emotion." And he said, "There are times that there's a disconnect between here and here. So I may be telling myself that it's God's will, but my heart is saying, I'm upset and I am broken." And I think the onus is on us as people who are active in the community, for those of us who have a strong faith, and you're in that church, when you see, as one of my dear friends who is a pastor, his daughter had a number of losses. And pastor said if he had another person say it was God's will, he was going to punch him in the throat because he'd had enough of don't come up to my baby girl and tell her it's God's will. When she's mourning, when he's mourning, when her husband, and you're going to tell me so yeah, and I know it's a hard one. It's a hard one to navigate. And so stop sometimes and just say, I'm here. Just hold a hand, right? And so we don't have to have an answer. But speaking of answers, we've got some time. Can we open the floor, Zay and Ajua, and let some of our friends today in our compassionate circle either ask questions of the broader group, share I'm going to use the old-fashioned word testimony if there is one. We've got time, and we are recording. If you guys want us to turn off the recording at this point, we can. You let us know. As a group, thumbs up, leave it on, or no thumbs up, I'll turn off the recording so it can be as intimate as you want. No one's voting. Thumbs up, leave it on?
I'm okay to leave it on.
Okay.
Leave it up, leave it on, leave it on.
Okay.
There you go.
So anyone want to come off mute? And you don't have to come off camera if you don't want. Share a thought, a comment, suggestions.
Hi, good evening. This is Dawn. Actually, honestly, I was still reflecting on Zay's presentation. and it was very powerful and just made me, just helped me to reflect more. So that's why I asked if we were going to get the recording, because it's going to take me a little time to do deeper reflection and process what was said, because that was a lot. And so that's really my main question about the recording.
Is it okay, Zay, if we send your recording as a separate link? That's okay?
Yeah, that's also a mini, that's 9 minutes out of like an hour and a half training. Marie sat through the full training, so you definitely can share it, and maybe at some point eventually we can set a time to do a full thing, maybe one day. I'm open to that.
That would be
Thank you.
great. Thank you.
And Zay, you are what is the right word? I almost said lecturer, but that's not the right word. Consultant doesn't give you the right, but you are a speaker. And as her agent, we can navigate. Y'all paying for my friend to come lecture. I'm working on her now because, yeah, she said I sat through it. I was blessed to get to be part of a group that experienced her conversation, and we all left much better for it. So if you have the ability to bring her into your community, into your churches, I think we need to wrap what the National Baptist Convention, the AME, the CME, all of them, they need to bring you in, because I do know as a bishop's daughter, let me just add that for my dad, that it is not always easy for them either. So having someone who could give them those tools, and especially them being the church leadership, the mothers board, because it's hard. And we're learning as we decolonize our grief, right? So anyone else?
I just wanted to add something. One of the things too, in having these conversations is we need to break down the uncomfortable wall that is there in talking about grief and loss, because as a doula, you don't want to put fear in your clients, but you don't know how a birth is going to turn out. And so, Marie, thank you for creating platforms like this, and Jamie and Zay for sharing your story. Again, like Marie said, she is a fan of Zay's. Zay's got lots of fans everywhere, but the first time I heard her speak, the first thought I had was, she is grieving, but her grief looks very different. Her grief has literally, as we talked about, turned into advocacy, but it's because she has to confront those fears and things that are lingering in the minds of pregnant women and mothers and family. We have to talk about it. We have to break down that wall in order to get to a place of connection and advocacy and empowering moms and families, and really getting them to speak up for themselves. We have to speak up. We have to share stories. And so I just thank you all for being in this space where we can do that, because we need to get to a place of healing and rebuilding. We
Oh,
definitely do. So
that's so true, Ajwa. Thank you. Sheila, you have your hand up?
Yes, hi ladies. I just wanted to thank um those that worked hard to make this happen. It was very enlightening for me. I'm Filipino, full Filipino, and so I learned so much, especially when it comes to Black grief. And I really appreciated that share, that presentation. And I look forward to many more events, hopefully. And again, I did put my contact information in the chat, so if anyone would like to connect, I'm here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sheila. And I saw Moneta.
Good evening, everybody, and I definitely want to thank everybody that's here. One of the things that when Zaya was talking, and those, like somebody just said, she's grieving, but she also opened the door to give people permission to grieve, and that is okay. and to be transparent with what happened with the loss. I mean, I'm a full spectrum doula, and I've taken class, certain trainings. And one of the things that I did learn sometimes is because of the stigmas that people put on how to grieve and the what, whens, and whys, and definitely throwing in that it's God's choice. How do you know? Did he come down and tell you that? Because sometimes you got to push back because at that moment, that all probably is true. I truly believe, but that is not, sometimes it's okay just not to say nothing and just sit there and be quiet. So I have learned, and I like the presentation, how it opened up, is that people sometimes need permission to grieve because it's so sensitive and sacred. It, 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 and there's no time when you start and when it ends. That's
Right.
another thing. And that's one thing somebody said about the church is that if you don't provide a space, then the people don't know where to go. It's touchy, it's a stigma, but it's a part of life like everything else. And I just feel like sometimes it's just not talked about, acknowledged enough for the Black woman specifically, to grieve in a respectful and intentional way and be okay and people recognize the hurt because this happened, it's real, so I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Monetta. That's a beautiful point.
Can I just say something in regards to the comments? What I will say is that I think that when it comes to when we look at organized religion, when we look at spaces that support grief, specifically when it comes to perinatal loss, pregnancy loss, I think that we are conditioned to believe that there is a solution. And sometimes the solution looks like God has a purpose and a plan. What we have to take into consideration is that grief is not a mathematical equation. You don't have to reduce it. It doesn't have, you don't have to find the value in X and Y. You don't have to find you don't have to find the slope of it, because most of the time the slope is going down, right? We don't have to have there is no solution to it. However, although there is no solution, like in math, you have to show your work. In grief, it is required that you show your work. And what that looks like is being present, being polished, and being positioned. Those are the things. Be present for people. And sometimes present does not sound like anything. Being in position means that I can't be tore up either, right? Somebody has to stand tall. And when you can't do it for yourself, I'll do it for you. Being polished is I need to be educated in how I can assist you in navigating, because sometimes the only light that you can see is the light that stands beside you. So when we go into the spaces to help people navigate through grief, show your work. And that means professional development on a consistent and continuous basis, being a life student. And there is nothing greater than being in a space with somebody that there is an unspoken language in grief, that you don't have to say anything, but everything is spoken.
We're going to put that on that is so powerful, Zay. And thank you for that, because I think sometimes, for myself included, and not an indictment of anyone else, but I do feel like I want to fix it. Whether it's the grief of a child, a loved one, We want to say that right thing, right? And so thank you for giving us permission to simply be there. Anyone else have? You've got another minute or two before we start to do a thank you for Monetta. That I say is so right. I do want to clarify that we are not attacking organized religion or church. We just realize that, and many of us walk, right, in our faith. So that isn't the point. But we know that for many families that are going through grief, there's a gap perhaps in what that hurting parent or what that family that's going through the pain need and what we are equipped to offer. And I think the point that Zay just made is that it's not something that comes naturally. It is a learning. And so we speak about the gap with respect and an open heart and hand to how do we learn to navigate it. Sheka? Shika? SHECA, please.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm in Florida and I work in the medical field. Before I was a medical assistant and then now as a health coach, which is a bit deceiving in its name because I really just schedule patients. But I had 2 miscarriages and I am angry at the medical system. And I feel like I work through a lot of different phases of grieving, but again, I know it's not linear, but I keep coming back to the anger. And I'm basically trying to find how I can advocate, but I don't really know what that looks like, where to start. I just know that my journey or my path, because of the experience I had, is it shifted. It's or like I have a different purpose almost. So there's a bit of a discomfort because of this change. Um, so I'm on a discovering journey right now. Um, but I want to be able to advocate for women um when it comes on to defending them against, providers and getting them the help that they need and um so I don't know if that's something that will be discussed a little bit later, like the different options um, of things that I can look into uh, just to see what kind of fits me a little bit more.
First, thank you for your transparency and for sharing that with us. And am I pronouncing your name Sheka correctly?
Shika.
Shika, thank you. Um, Not offering medical advice, but and we have done a workshop on fertility. But generally speaking, after 2 miscarriages, it's not unreasonable for you to ask for a full evaluation, ask for a referral perhaps to a reproductive endocrinologist, talk to your OB about, and maybe even ask for a referral to an MFM. We can send you some suggestions and I'll find the workshop that we did with an MFM that talked about fertility, and it is on our list for to do another one in January. But going through that evaluation, there are things that they should do to make sure that it's not that you're not continuing to have those losses, because sometimes people, or not people, but sometimes we say, oh, she lost it at 8 weeks, and they just go on as if that was not a life-altering event for you. And stepping back and having some evaluation might be beneficial to you as someone who personally had some of those experiences 50 years ago, but still. And I know a lot has changed since then, but then a lot has not. And they let us, there's an opportunity there. I
Can
don't
I
want
say
to.
something for her?
Yes,
Just
Zay,
for
please.
one second. So this is what I'm going to suggest that you do, because what I hear in your voice is advocacy, and you're trying to find out what pieces fit for you and how you can advocate for other women. Is that a yes or a no? Am I far off?
It's yes.
Okay. So this is the homework that I'm going to task you to do this. I am going to task you to, I'm going to put my email address in, and anybody can email me if you would like. I'm going to task you to get a journal. I'm going to task you to write your entire birth experience down. I'm going to task you to go and you find and highlight the gaps. And then I'm going to task you to go and find out what pissed you off. See, there is something about rage that fuels you and catapults you into your purpose, right? So I want you to identify those things. And then I want you to figure out how those things fit into your vision and your gift. And then once you do that, I want you to email me so we can figure out how you can do this.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Y'all see why I love me some Zay. Ajua?
Zay already, she was going where I was going, but as I was listening to you, Sheikah, what I heard was you're fighting for other women, but who's fighting for you? And so I wanted to ask you who is in your corner while you're fighting, and that you're not fighting alone, because you're fighting and searching for answers. So Zay pretty much said it, write it all down, and there's power in the rage, like she said. Yeah, she went where I was going. I just want to make sure you are not fighting alone and that you get the answers that you are looking for. So thank you for sharing that, Sheikah.
Yes, thank you for
Thank
sharing that.
you.
And thank you both for hearing her, because I went very literal. I see Stacy has her hand up. Stacy Marcel? You're muted, Stacy, if you're talking.
Okay, sorry.
No worries.
So just to kind of piggyback off of Sheikah, with advocacy, I shared in our breakout rooms that I'm a mother who experienced a loss, was stillborn. My question is with advocacy, when it happened, there were so many moments that I can look at now and see where there was malpractice now. But then, in the brink of it all going on, my goal was to just get home. And I didn't want to be in the hospital around doctors, nurses, medical staff. I just kind of let it all go. I just let it all go. I didn't think about legal or anything, but just thinking back now, there were so many points of malpractice. I want to be able to advocate for families and women when I know that there should be help or legal help or justice. What does that look like? I don't even know how to, because they're grieving. They don't want to talk about that right then and there. How does that look? Because like I said, I look back now and I see all the points that led up to it. And I didn't do anything. I could have, but I just wanted peace at that moment. And it was like that for weeks. I didn't think about it. Years went on. And now that I think about it, it's like, wow. Yeah. So what does that look like? How do you even try to advocate for them and let them know that they can fight back?
Does somebody else want to take this? Or yeah, okay. So this is what I think. I think that you should go through an organization called Mama's Voices. That organization is going to take you through a free training that is going to make you a patient family partner. what you want is the certification piece. It's going to tell you how to navigate through the healthcare system, because I think the first piece that you have to educate yourself on is how to file grievances in the healthcare system, how to get in contact with administrators. So how to be a grievance advocate, how to first educate yourself on what is the patient bill of rights at hospitals. Where is the compromise? Where is the conflict? And how do you file complaints? So I think that that's going to be the first piece. And then I feel like if you have a nonprofit organization, get in contact with some interns, have conversations with some with legal aid, and see how you can build relationships, how you can really educate yourself on the proper way to structure certain things, and just build it how you want it to look. Because at the end of the day, it's your idea. But I think that that is what I would definitely I'll instruct you to start doing on a foundational level.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zay. Dr. Wilburn?
Yes, I just wanted to answer the young lady who just finished speaking. I'm an OBGYN, and when you go to your physician's office, we're supposed to have posted on a wall that any patient can call the medical board of their state and submit a complaint. And that's supposed to be posted. So that's one thing that you can, that's the easiest and quickest way. And then they can also probably direct you to an attorney so that you can get and express, your feelings and see if it's a viable case. So I just wanted to give you that, that all of us though are supposed to have posted so that patients can see on how they can get in touch with the medical board. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I say something real fast? I think she should start with whatever state you're in. I don't know, Stacy, what state you're in, but you do file a complaint with the medical board. You get your medical records, you go through them, you see where because I advocate against the California Medical Board. Sorry, doctor, but for patient safety. I also am medical negligence with my daughter and my grandson. And you advocate that way is one way. The MICRA, look at your state and see what the MICRA Fairness Act is, what your life is worth in your state, because that has a lot to do with how a lawyer will pick up your case or not. In California, I was on the team with Consumer Watchdogs and a bunch of the families, and it got raised to $500,000 this 2 years ago. It used to be $250 a life was worth in California, and so lawyers would not pick up the cases because to try a case through the medical law, civil cases, it's thousands and thousands of dollars. So it's really was hard. But now that it's moving along, we're seeing more families getting justice and getting accountability against that through the civil cases. But as the medical board, yes, it's a process. It's not going to happen overnight, but get your medical records, get with somebody who advocates in your community for, like I said, I was with Consumer Watchdog in California. Michelle Montserrat Ramos helped me a lot, and a lot of families. She's a national advocate for patient safety. And so she would help go through the paperwork with you and help you a lot, but you have to attend the meetings, you have to use your voice. And now they're coming to the California Medical Board and the Osteopathic Medical Board are starting to come to my health fair events to help families to understand how to file a medical board complaint. Because it is a little bit hard because it takes a lot of work. But that's how I kind of started my ball rolling with the medical board, and then started going to the meetings online and using our voice and using your story. But that's just kind of how I went around and what I do.
Thank you, Tracy. I know Ms. Silva, did you had your hand up? Did you still have a comment? And I know we're coming at the close, but I don't want to cut off anyone that had. And I'm sorry I missed your hand, but I see the note in the chat from both Jamie and Zay, like, yeah, Mr. So, Mrs. Silva, did you have a comment? My friends, we are at our end of this session, and I so appreciate your time, and I appreciate you coming. A huge thank you to Zay, Ajua, Jamie. Before we do our final comments, I would like to give Jamie a moment to do a quick PSA for Promise Ventures, who underwrote. For anyone who is taking this or is here as a nurse, we will send you the link. You can scan it. There are a couple of questions, of course, the assessment that you take, and then you can get 1 CE. Many doulas have done this as well. And if your state accepts it as your continuing ed, we'll send you a certificate once you've completed the assessment. And thank you to Jamie and Promise Ventures for underwriting the cost of offering the CE. And Jamie, would you share a little bit with the group about Promise Ventures?
I'll give a quick overview, but if anyone is doing work centered around early childhood, birth equity, prenatal work, doula work, we would love to have you. We're a community of over 400 leaders of color across the states. We're in 40 plus states, really just centered on our collective power, collective healing, sustainability in this work. And so we would love for you to join. There's no cost, but it's just a really great space to just be in community, especially right now. We're an all BIPOC space, and we offer programming. We offer a restoration fund. We have a fully covered conference called Rest. Some folks here have participated in it. And so if you are looking for a community of like-minded folks that you don't have to explain yourself to, that understand what this work is like, please consider joining us, and I'll drop my email as well. And I'd love to stay in contact.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Zay, for your powerful teaching and the tenderness that you brought to this space. Thank you, Ajua, for your beautiful poetry. If your Ajua is willing, we'll share that in our follow-up with you all with the recording. To everyone here, again, thank you for your courage, for your presence. We want to honor the little ones and the loved ones that we've lost today, and know that as they said, you don't have to make excuses. We will send you her recording. We'll send the links to her website, Ajua, as well as Promise Ventures. And I think, Ajua, you said there's a resource list too, right? We're going to include that in our email to them?
Yes, all the different resources for grief and loss support groups.
Thank you. So one more time, let's take a soft breath, release your shoulders, go out gently tonight, and we hope to see you at one of our other workshops soon. Final word, ladies? Anything from my girls?
Yeah, thank you guys so much for lending us your time. Continue to do the great work. Continue to be gentle with yourselves. If you have experienced loss, know that this is your journey, and know that there is support. If you need it, you can definitely reach out to me, and I'm sure any of the other ladies that that hosted tonight. Know that we support you, know that we're proud of you, know that we're here and we're standing with you during this time, and know that you can utilize us as a resource and a support.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Have a good night.